Dave here. I'm with John Boy, superintendent of the Potter's House. John, what does being a Christian mean to you?
I think that early on in my life, during my college years, I really struggled with that question. I felt that I had lived my life following the rules that I was taught in Christian school, and I was thankful to be saved, as they say. But I felt like people thought of me as a good Christian. I was asked to give chapel speeches and so on. And I suppose maybe I was, but in my heart I felt that I was living for the same things that everyone else was. I basically wanted to be popular. I wanted to get a good job, make a lot of money. My goals were basically the same as anybody else. And I began to feel that if the story of Jesus is true, it's the type of story that you'd give your whole life to. And I knew that I wasn't doing that. And God made me very uncomfortable with that answer for a long time, and I struggled with it, and finally came to the place that I just decided to say, God, okay, do whatever you want with my life. I didn't actually say it out of a moment of faith, really, but just feeling that God was calling me to do that. I actually felt like when I said that I was throwing my life away and giving up all my hopes and dreams, and it wasn't going to be a life of joy and happiness for me. But it was just the opposite. I've had a great life. God has done more in my life than I ever could hope or dream or imagine. But that's not even what following Jesus means to me either, because we're not promised that it's going to be wonderful. To me, it's being a Christian is being a follower of Jesus, falling in love with him and trying to follow after him, trying to obey, knowing that you're not going to do that perfectly, and being aware that that's okay, that he knows that's the way it's going to be. But to me, it's following after Jesus and his dream of the kingdom that he began to establish when he was on this earth, when he was baptized, when he went through the temptations, when he taught the radical way that his kingdom would be, when he died and when he rose. And when he rose, something happened that set something going, which was his kingdom, which is here and not here. It has begun. It hasn't culminated yet, of course, but we've been called to be part of being his kingdom in this world. And so to me, it's about following. It's about not just do, but it's also falling in love with him and letting that become your life, and finding that it's more than what you expected it ever to be.
What was the greatest risk that you've taken with the Lord?
I've taken a lot of risks, and my parents have been quite patient with it. I think one risk was just giving up a successful academic career. I was doing extremely well in math, and I could have landed a very good job, but I just felt like that wasn't going to give me any fulfillment. After I encountered God in a different way, I was just like, no, I'm not just going to sit in a room doing math problems. I'm sure there's a lot of followers of Jesus that do that, but for me it was, okay, I just have to follow after, whatever it is that he's calling me to. That was a risk. Moving into Roosevelt Park was a risk. It was a culture very different from what I was familiar with. Starting Potter's House with no funding and volunteer teachers, we could have looked very foolish. At one point, the second year we had to find a building because the fire marshal said we could only be in a church basement for 1 year. And after praying, we felt like God was calling us to step out in faith and buy the old Southwest Christian for $120,000 and $40,000 down, and we only had $3,000. And we went to the board of Godfrey Lee and said, we'll buy it. We'll give you $40,000 in this month. We just took a year to raise $3,000. That was a huge risk, but God gave us $45,000 2 weeks later. So there's many risks, but I think that's about all I have time to talk about right now.